Hello, fellow YouTubers. We are Bob and Suzie, and we combined our names to name our beloved RV Buzie. Together, with our kitty Rory, we have amazing adventures in our RV we call Bussing with Buzie. We recently took 7 weeks to explore, and I can't wait to tell you about the beginning of our trip through Kansas. In Concordia, Kansas, we arranged to meet a docent at the Orphan Train Museum. The story of the Orphan Train is fascinating. In the years following 1850, population in New York went from 500,000 to 3 million in just 50 years, causing severe poverty. Many children were abandoned, orphaned, or homeless. A minister and reformer, Charles Loring Brace, founded the Children's Aid Society in 1853 to help destitute children in New York City. Through his society, he established services to help the children. He was especially interested in finding homes for the homeless children living on the streets. He decided to try the concept of placing out as a way of finding homes. He felt good-hearted families in the small towns would take in the children, educate them, and see that they had a religious upbringing. In 1854, Brace sent the first group of 46 children to Michigan. Within a week, they all had homes. Trains became the primary means of transportation, with trips lasting a week or more. Orphan trains went to every state in the Union, but most went to the Midwest. When a train arrived in town, riders recalled with horror how prospective parents examined and questioned them. Some matches did not work well. Agents who worked for the society tried to follow up yearly to check on children and remove those in unfit homes. The number of children placed may be as high as 250,000. Placement agents rode the trains with the children. They were also tasked with visiting the children each year to determine whether the children were receiving proper care. Not all agents took great care of the children, but one agent who did was Anna Laura Hill. She worked with the children for 24 years and remained in contact with many of her children. Irma Craig Schneider was 35 months old when she was chosen by Mr. and Mrs. Boehm in Osage City, Missouri, 1898. Foster mom died in 1909, so her foster father placed her with a neighbor so she'd have a woman to raise her. Quote, "My foster family loved me and reared me just like I was their own child," end quote. Not all of the foster homes worked out. Some of the children were treated poorly and even abused. Nettie and Nellie Crook were chosen by a couple in central Kansas. The woman abused the girls, and the abuse was eventually reported. After removing the girls to a temporary home, a permanent home was found, but the temporary home and the twins were happy together, so that's where they stayed. This and other stories can be found in a book we purchased, We Rode the Orphan Train, by Andrea Warren. In addition to watching a film and browsing the museum, you can drive around town to find statues donated in honor of some of the Orphan Train riders. Next, we visited the Dwight D. Eisenhower Presidential Library and Museum in Abilene, Kansas. After watching a short movie in the Visitors Center, we passed Ike's childhood home, currently being renovated, on the way to the museum. Once in the museum, you can explore the early years, World War II, Mamie, and the presidency. The early years cover Ike's boyhood, his years as a cadet at West Point, and his courtship with Mamie. This includes the death of their first son to meningitis and the birth of their second son, John, in 1922. In World War II, Eisenhower was instrumental in ending the war with the Axis of Powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. After seeing the concentration camps himself, he requested press and government to visit Germany and document the horrors. This assured 6 to 10 million lives lost are not forgotten. Part of the museum is dedicated to Mamie, her partnership with Ike, and her glamorous look. As president, Ike proposed and prevailed to pass an Emergency Migration Act to increase visas to refugees and displaced persons. He expanded American food and economic aid beyond Europe. The president also approved development of the U-2 spy plane to collect military intelligence on the Soviet Union. He rejected 2 proposals to use nuclear weapons. He used his authority in several ways for desegregation, including hiring the first African American member of the White House staff. Eisenhower appointed 4 Supreme Court judges, all favoring desegregation. In the special exhibit hall, we had the pleasure of seeing a Bill Malden political cartoon collection.
Just another Abilene family.
In the presidential library, we had fun posing with General Eisenhower. Kansas was a great start to our 7-week RV trip. I hope we've inspired you to visit the National Orphan Train Museum and the Eisenhower Museum and Library to see their wonders for yourself.